Okay, we're back. We're refreshed. We got water and tea. So we were talking about Republican cuts. Now, right now, there's a debate about shutting down the government. It's all the Republicans want to do it. There was already a deal during the last potential shutdown between Biden and McCarthy, who's the House Speaker, and McConnell in the Senate. And they cut a deal that, hey, to prevent this going forward, we're going to agree on this sort of budget, and they did. And there were some cuts to that that I disagree with, but that's what it was. Well, now the Republicans in the House, McCarthy is reneging because, as you remember, when he got elected, he had to go through 15 something different votes, and then he gave up all of his power to basically the Freedom Caucus, which is the Trump supporters, the MAGA nut jobs. And they can do what's called a vote of no confidence and have him removed at any time if they don't like what he's doing. And so they're threatening to do that. So now he is trying to slow this down. And so he's proposed a bunch of new cuts. And this is Chris Hayes on MSNBC on his show All In. And he's going to list the cuts that the McCarthy is promoting, just so you get a sense of what Republicans' agenda is.
And there's our favorite lady there.
MTG
continues and approaches some kind of deadline. It's helpful to understand that there's a reason why this is such favorable terrain for Republicans and why it is so dangerous for all of us. It's a basic public opinion problem. When you ask the public, and this is true for decades, as long as I've been covering politics, when you ask the public generally in the abstract, is the federal government spending too much? You tend to get a resounding yes. Recent poll, for example, found 60% of U.S. adults said, yes, we are spending too much. But then when you ask people about specific programs, you get a very different answer. In the exact same poll, 65% said they're too little spending on education. 63% said there's too little spending on healthcare. 62% say the same on Social Security. Infrastructure, 59% say the same on assistance to the poor. 58% on Medicare. People don't actually want spending cuts. They like these programs. In fact, they want to spend more on them. And so, of course, what Republicans have somewhat successfully engineered in this debt ceiling fight is a kind of national debate around the broad idea of spending too much, as opposed to a debate about cutting specific things. Last month, for example, they passed this ridiculous bill proposing just that, right? Cutting federal discretionary spending to the level of the last fiscal year, imposing an arbitrary overall 1% cap on growth, all of it devoid of specifics, right? These are just top lines, numbers. And now the negotiations on those all-important details are happening behind closed doors, which also favors them because they don't have to defend individual cuts. Now they have to decide, well, what are we actually going to cut to get those nice round numbers? And the items on the chopping block really tell you how deranged this entire enterprise is. Listen to me here. Republicans reportedly want to cut the vaccine development program. $5 billion of funding intended for the next generation of coronavirus vaccines and treatments. The program, called Project NextGen, aims to fund the development of new vaccines that could potentially offer longer-lasting protection against a wider array of coronavirus variants or better defense against infections. It also intends to fund...
So they want to cut a program to prevent another pandemic.
I'm going to guess we're maybe rolling the die on the idea that there won't be another pandemic that relates to coronavirus in general.
Well, because as we all know, the coronavirus was made by the Chinese to kill Jews and whites. Or no, by the Jews to kill white people. Sorry. I got that confused there for a second. We covered that with Robert Kennedy. God, he's such a nightmare.
I forgot that. Okay.
That was.
I can't keep straight what he was trying to say, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Lacey doesn't have a index of all the ridiculous shit we cover.
I really do not. Listen.
It's too much.
I tried really hard to put myself into the brains of what these crazy people are thinking. I'm like, okay, so on some other planet, I'm suddenly inside of this person. What the hell am I thinking? And, I try, but I don't come up with a lot.
Well, it's just one of those things where it's like, if you were to ask me, like, if this were like a household and we were family planning, you're like, well, let's cut the spending on the treatment to cure Timmy's tuberculosis. I'd be like, no, that's one of those non-cuttable items from the budget. I'm sorry,
Mm.
we're not going to cut, medical help for the kids. That's not going to happen.
So little Marie should get to keep her inhaler. We're not cutting her inhaler and sending her to gym class.
Let's get her the generic inhaler. It'll save us an extra $5 a
I have a
month.
good idea. We'll get her the inhaler container.
Right.
We'll just cut the insert, the little tank of bang inside of it,
Yeah, we'll just put a vape inside of it or something instead.
Right.
All right, let's go with some more of this. This is just fucking nuts to me.
Okay.
Cutting vaccine research on a deadly virus. Okay, that's
No,
what.
this is going to get stupider before it gets less stupid.
Oh no, it just gets stupider.
On the development of pan-coronavirus vaccines, which would protect against different coronaviruses and new monoclonal antibody treatments. This is a program that builds on Donald Trump's single, unambiguous success, Operation Warp Speed, that helped to develop the COVID vaccines in record time. The vaccines saved 20 million lives around the world just in their first year. The Republican negotiators have essentially taken 85% of the budget off the table, including things like defense spending and Social Security. Leaves a pretty small portion left to work with. And again, we can't forget the key context here. Over the past couple of years, the American right and the Republican Party have collapsed into a vortex of anti-vaccine nonsense that is dangerous, disastrous, and disconnected from reality. They have decided the single greatest achievement of the Trump presidency, perhaps the greatest health intervention of our time, was actually some sort of malevolent plot. And that anti-vax movement is an outgrowth of the insane, neurotic universe of extremely online conservatives who spend all day slinging disinformation and offensive. So that's part of it. It's such an obvious thing. Hang on. I'm having a little technical problem there. Anyway, it's not just that, though. I mean, I don't think he gets into it too much in here, but there's a huge list of cuts that are just ridiculous. Like, they want to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. They want to cut entitlements for the poor, SNAP, CHIP, WIC, right? Things we're not going to cut, the military. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's literally like if you had two households, right? And in one, the kids got, tutoring and went to regular school and were playing sports, and mom and dad everybody had health insurance and the house was insured and all that stuff. You'd be like, okay, that's just, normal, responsible family, right? And then their neighbors, the kids don't go to school. They get shitty homeschool at best, right? They have no medical care, but dad has a Ferrari and a whole arsenal of guns. You'd be like, that guy's a dick. It's not a responsible adult.
Right.
But that's kind of what's happened. I mean, that's kind of the country we've become. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Oh, man. Well, let me do this. We're going to take a quick pause here. Let me see if I can look up the whole cut thing, because I thought I had it. Man, cuts for shutdown. Safety net, here it was. I was watching things. Okay, so let's do this. So, yeah, so just to get sort of a sense of the cuts, here's the Washington Post on the shutdown, and I just want to skip down here. The article title, just so everybody has, is "Betting to the Right, McCarthy pushes safety net cuts to shutdown battle." Going down a little bit here, it looks like, where was it? Up to, here we go. Okay, so it appears to translate into taking more than $150 billion per year out of part of the budget that funds childcare, education, subsidies, medical research, and hundreds of additional federal operations. The bottom line is we're singularly focused right now on achieving our conservative objectives. Trying to court the votes of the far-right lawmakers, huge savings, despite the fact that you've had record inflation under this administration, which was caused by what? By coming out of COVID by Trump. So, I mean, this is all, I mean, they're talking about cutting education. Can you cut education anymore? I mean, kids don't even get fucking.
Well, they sure love to try.
Yeah, no kidding. They want you as stupid as possible. But anyway, yeah, you should read that article. But man, I mean, that just gives you a sense of where we're at. The whole thing. But it's led to some infighting among Republicans, because there are some Republicans who aren't stupid that know this is unpopular. Right? And what do? They gotta get up there and go, well, no, don't say the quiet part out loud, everybody. It's not popular. People don't like it when you take their shit away. Especially shit they're paying for. So here's the David Pakman show. We've covered him before. We're also going to cover the majority report. We should start paying them royalties as often as we use them. Anyway, so David Pakman's going to cover some of the infighting here.
Disarray, and this is one of my favorite videos of the last few months. Radical and repugnant, reactionary Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz went on Maria Bartiromo's show. Maria Bartiromo is one of the most explosively pro-Trump suck-ups on Fox News. And she went into a monologue rant about how Republicans are doing all this different stuff or whatever. Gaetz didn't like it. They are eating themselves. This is just the best. Matt Gaetz attacks Maria Bartiromo for her monologue. Watch Maria Bartiromo's face during this insanity. You love to see it, like watching little kids argue.
Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz. Congressman, thank you very much for being here this morning.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I get to respond to your monologue, because if you're saying that I'm standing in the way of all the Republican wins, I'm going to enumerate them. Watching my friend and mentor Jim Jordan, it was quite painful, because he started.
By the way, if your friend and mentor is Jim Jordan, that's a scary thing.
By saying we should only pick one fight, the border. But then as the interview went on, he said, well, we should pick a second fight, Jack Smith. And by the time the interview rounded out, he was saying that we shouldn't be funding Ukraine without a plan. And yet the very continuing resolution that you and Jim Jordan seem to be for continues to have $300 million more for Ukraine. So I think we ought to fight on all fronts. I think the border is very important. And the best way for us to advance the Republican border policies is to pass the Department of Homeland Security Appropriations Bill, do that along with veterans, defense, ag, state and foreign ops. We'll have 73% of the discretionary budget funded. And if, the Department of Labor and Education have to shut down for a few days as we get appropriations in line, that's certainly not something that is optimal, but I think it's better than continuing on the current path we are to America's financial ruin.
Congressman, I understand, and that is why you are on this program this morning, because I want to give you a fair shot, and
Right.
I want to get you heard. So tell me why you are threatening Speaker McCarthy and trying to shut down this government at a time that the Republicans have finally gotten some upper hands here in terms of wins, able to investigate President Biden on what looks like bribery.
Yeah, we don't put our pencils down in the investigation of President Biden during a shutdown, so the premise is false. Second, if Kevin McCarthy was actually serious about pursuing the Bidens, he would have sent Hunter Biden a subpoena by now. That's how you know this is sort of failure theater that you're observing. In the first year of Democrat control of the country.
He's not wrong, by the way. The entire failed, farcical, attempted investigation of Joe Biden is complete failure theater. He's correct.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. They can't do a fucking thing right. Even a villainous thing they can't do right. No, I swear.
Getting stupider and stupider, really.
I swear, they're like the mobsters in the Bugs Bunny cartoon. I mean, it's like you guys are focused too much on the rabbit. You should be focused on committing crime. But it's funny to me because it's like, because she's sitting there going, you're going to shut down the government. You're going to make the entire party look bad. You're going to potentially oust the speaker. We have no real power upper hand, but now we're sort of kind of getting a fake investigation into Biden, which might sort of make us look good. And now you're going to flip all that work, right? And make us look like idiots again. And, well, but it's better than, not. I mean, that's basically his answer, dude. And it's so funny to me because it's like, if you ever watch like the Nature Channel, and it's like, yeah, if I see two cougars ripping apart a gazelle, I'm kind of like, eh. But if I, But if I see a spider and a scorpion or a centipede going at it, I'm all in, man. I want to see the end of that fight.
It's terrible.
And that's what this is. This is a centipede and the spider going at it. And I'm like, I want to see who wins. So we're going to watch Sam Cedar. And they're going to go through some of the same shit about the Republican infighting. Because that was just one little taste of it. It's gotten fun. So here's Sam Cedar on the Majority Report with Emma Vigeland. And they're going to talk about this real quick. So he's going to go into this about Fox News not being, I think this is the Fox morning show, Fox and Friends, not being real thrilled with a lot of this.
That they don't even realize how bad they look to even ostensibly normal Republicans. Of course, this is still far to the right of just normal human beings. So here they are talking. It's rare you see Kilmeade get this hot under the collar about the Republican Party.
Can't just focus on this. You focus on trying to get a continuing resolution to finally get a budget going. For some reason, you guys didn't get your appropriations bills done. So now they want a continuing resolution. A lot of conservatives got together like Scott Perry, Chip Roy, and the speaker, and they came up with what they thought was a CR, but it failed because of people like Matt Rosendale. Listen to why.
I've said for months now that I will not support any continuing resolution. That is merely an extension of Nancy Pelosi's spending and Joe Biden's policies that we voted against. Republicans voted against for the last 2 years. We were assured, like Kevin McCarthy, this Congress is going to be different. Congress needs to do their job. They need to pass the 12 appropriation bills. They need to get the non-defense discretionary spending reduced to $1.471 trillion.
Pause it for 1 second. I just want to remind everyone that Nancy Pelosi is no longer in the leadership of the House. She's not Speaker of the House. She's not even minority leader.
But the continuing resolution would continue, like her. I mean, the stench of Pelosi. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the continuing resolution would shape a budget that was from the year prior.
Anyway, it's just stupid shit, right? My first thought always is like, I see a guy like that. I'm like, if you come up to me and you've got that haircut, I'm already going to start talking to you like you're an idiot. I mean, if you make sounds like this with a haircut like that, I'm going to sit there and go, You never know. I mean, I know guys with that accent who are Rhodes Scholars, but but they don't cut their hair like that.
So it's like a double stereotype.
Right. They have a stylist. They look good. But no, but I mean the idea that they're making fun of the fact that he didn't know who the speaker was. Right?
I mean,
his party's in power and he didn't seem to be aware of that.
kind of an easy one to get right, but you know,
Yeah, who's your boss again? That guy. No, that guy was your boss. Who's your current boss? That guy retired. Well, I just know we got to get the 12 resolution. Yeah. And they keep saying, when they say cut discretionary spending, what they're talking about is education, Social Security, things like that. I mean, it's just, I mean, they never ever, like they said earlier, they never specify. Because if they specify, you'll get pissed. Right?
Right. So they have to kind of do the smoke and mirrors thing. They have to make it sound mysterious.
Right. It does.
Oh, discretionary, extra stuff. Yeah, extra stuff. All right, as long as they're cutting the extra stuff.
Right.
What extra stuff? You don't know. They didn't tell you.
No, try that with your spouse when you guys are living together. Like, honey, I think we need to cut our discretionary spending by 10%. They'd probably be like, well, depending on how clever your spouse is, they'd probably be
And
like,
the next thing you know,
whatever. But
you
then,
find out you don't have any gas in your tank. And,
right.
Nobody's paid the internet bill, and the electric's not getting paid. Yeah, discretionary.
Discretionary. What is this? I only have $5 I can spend on lunch per day. What is this shit? God, it just kills me. But that's kind of what's going on. We'll watch some more because Fox gets really, really uncomfortable by this whole situation. Kilmeade does especially.
But they had ample opportunity to work on it.
Exactly.
They haven't.
Biggs, Dan Bishop, Ken Buck, and Matt Rosendale voted no, so you guys failed, and now moderates are getting together with Democrats, and they might do something and leave you guys out.
Well, you just named some of my best friends, Brian. I'm a conservative as well, but I'm also in House leadership, okay? I recognize the reality of the math, and Matt Rosendale, he's not wrong. He's correct. We do need to do our approach bills, but doing a CR will allow us the necessary time to do that so that we can have good, thoughtful, good stewardship for the taxpayer.
But he knows that, doesn't he? So what's the point of blowing up your continuing resolution? It's you and Chip Roy who we blew up. What's the point?
Yeah, well, we're having some intense fellowship behind the curtain, okay? But we have a slim margin, all right? This is the reality of governing with a
Pause it
small
for 1 second.
majority.
What does that mean? We're having some fellowship behind the curtain.
Oh, so much intense fellowship happening in the Republican caucus.
He's
It's
using
a little.
religious. It's religious language. No, I know. So religious language. I'm asking if anybody knows.
No one knows what that means. Yeah. They're all best friends.
I know that.
Friday McCarthy is yelling.
No, I mean I know that we have, we have some evangelical Christians in this audience.
Basically, what it is he just fucked you over. It's not going to last. All this is screwed. What the hell is the point? Well, we're having some fellowship behind the curtains. Meaning you're arguing. Right?
No, man. Fellowship my ass.
God, it's just such a they're just such a waste of space. It kills me. Oh, man. Well, anyway, I'm going to cover that for the news. It's important to just understand they're fighting. They don't know what they're doing. They're arguing about what to cut. The big issue is they want to cut all this shit, but at the same time, they don't want it to be public. And the real...
Right. We want to cut all this stuff, but we don't want you to know what it is.
Right.
We don't want it to be clear to you because then you might not let us.
Yeah. Well, for the Republicans who are kind of against this, part of it is we know it's unpopular. We're going into an election next year. Our front runner Trump is going to be in trial through most of the year. He's going to be facing multiple convictions. He's already gotten one judgment against him. He's going to have many more potentially, in all likelihood. And that's going to be our presidential runner. And states will be in a position where they can even take him off the ballot if they want to. Right? Because of the 14th Amendment. And you want to run on, we want to cut your Social Security and your Medicare?
quick to the side for viewers that don't remember and are trying to Google right now, 14th Amendment tells us what?
Oh, so the 14th Amendment was after the Civil War, but part of it says that if you've been involved with an insurrection against the United States, that you can't ever serve in government, or you can be with taken off the ballot. Right. So that's part of it. And since Trump did the insurrection on January 6th, right, he doesn't have to be convicted of it. He just has to be, I mean, it's kind of a legal jargon thing. And the states are going to handle it differently, but it's going to be up to each Secretary of State.
Right.
And the Secretaries of State are going to, and I feel bad for them because that's usually a pretty boring job. That's usually people file their business stuff or their tax stuff with you, right? But now you got to sit there and you got to do like the districts and who, and the voting districts and draw lines and stuff. But the rest of it, it's like now you got to sit there and decide, am I taking off a potential presidential candidate off the ballot? And is that going to, what kind of, is that going to cause protests or riots or whatever? Or death threats to me? I'm just the Secretary of State, man. You just pay your payroll tax through me. That's it.
Yep. It's supposed to be a boring job.
It is supposed to be a really boring job. But yeah. I mean, how many of you even know who your Secretary of State is? They're basically a number cruncher for the state. It's not it's nothing sexy. It's like, who's your state treasurer? Nobody knows. I don't even know who my state treasurer is.
I don't know who mine is either, actually.
I'd have to look it up.
No, I don't.
I don't even know who my Secretary of State is. And you know what's funny about that? I pay payroll tax every month.
You've maybe more reason to know who that is.
I write a check to her every month, and I know it's a woman. I just don't know what her name is.
And if you don't know it, you're paying that thing every freaking month. Most other people don't have a shot at it.
Oh, I get letters all the time from them, and from her, it's got her name on them, and I couldn't tell you what her name is. I never read it.